Start? Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Wednesday, the 11th day of Tevet, corresponding to December 19th, 2018. I'm watching myself in the video camera.
Who is that?
A good-looking guy, I don't know who. His name must be Yosef. I don't know. But it looks very nice. Thank you for the upgrade in the world of technology. Today, I will give you a break. We have two wonderful Talmidei Chachamim that I'm giving them the honor to give us some words of Torah and words of Hizuk. Allow me to introduce to the audience, the virtual and the physical audience and the audio audience. First of all, Rabbi Chaim Arkin, coming all the way from Deal, New Jersey, with a beautiful Sephardi Kolel by the name of Or HaHalacha. This particular kollel has one particular mission: to train and to prepare Sephardic rabbis to help Sephardic communities nationwide to have well-trained and knowledgeable Talmidei Chachamim. The world of Jewish law, it is not a simple world. It is a world that has a lot of intricacies and a lot of aspects of technology and halakha, and what's right, what's inappropriate, what's acceptable, but it's not the nicer things to do. So we're going to give the opportunity to the great rabbi that is approaching now, I believe, after 5 years of very, very hard work, the first graduating class, correct, Rabbi? The first graduating class that, Baruch Hashem, went through a rigorous type of learning, training, hands-on training, among them how to give advice to people in the topic of Shalom Bayit, how to become public speakers, kashrut, ashgaha, etc. So Baruch Hashem is doing something that is helping, and I do know for a fact that there are today a couple of Sephardic communities that are eagerly waiting to start interviewing some of the graduates, because they do come with great knowledge and great amount of Irat Shamayim as well, which is a proper combination when it comes to become a rabbi of a community. We also like to acknowledge the presence of Rabbi David Grossman that is with us here today, and in a few moments we'll introduce formally the rabbi, and also we give the rabbi the opportunity to share words with the Kahal Kadosh. At this moment, I will do something that I don't do often. I'm going to listen. At home, I listen. Baruch Hashem. But in the shul, I do not. But today, I will be listening. So we're going to turn the mic over to Rabbi Chaim Arkin. The name of the kollel is Or HaHalacha. Anybody interested in having great Chachamim in the Sephardic community worldwide or nationwide, let us know. I will give you the rabbi's information to be able to contact the rabbi directly. So at this time, Rabbi, please give us an honor. Bechavod. Please turn on the video. You have it there, beautiful.
Who's beautiful?
Okay, Rabbi, you look very good. Right. Now we have a question, which one looks better? Okay, but we have three now to choose from. Okay, I hope the lens is wide enough. Yes.
Thank you, Rabbi Galimidi, B'Reshut, and also Rabbi Grossman, also who was a big help in starting off this initiative of this Halacha Kolel. We appreciate all your efforts, and we'd like to share with you on this week's parasha, today's day of reading Rabbi. Vayikra Yaakov el Banav Vayomer Ha'asifu Ve'agid Alachem. Yaakov Avinu, about to pass away, gathers all his children by his deathbed, and of course it's an emotional moment, it's a deep moment, and anybody who ever had to experience anything close to such a moment can imagine the emotion that runs through a person's veins to understand the feelings and the deep message that the father is going to want to convey to the children. And this is for life. This is not just for their life, it's for generations, and it's across the spectrum of Judaism. What is this message that he wants to give them? He wants to tell them, when is Mashiach going to come? We live in a time that there's darkness, there's terrorist attacks, there's problems, there's economic pressures, there's so many issues going around, and we want to know, when is Mashiach going to come? Everybody wants to know the $1 million question. And Hazal teach us that there's a number of things, 7 things that a person cannot know. Person does not know when Mashiach is going to come. Person does not know when a person is going to pass away. Person does not know what's in another person's mind. And so on and so forth. But Yaakov Avinu felt that it would be beneficial for them to know. But not just to know, to work towards that goal. So he was not able to tell them. He blacked out, he was not able to tell them. He lost the vision and the prophecy. So at that moment, I want to read you from the Targum Yerushalmi that says, so at that point, he says, maybe it's because of one of my children that are not worthy. One of them is not worthy of hearing this prophecy. And you know, if somebody's not worthy, so maybe the whole group is going to miss out. So who is it over here of the 12 children that may be something wrong with him? Yeah, Abraham Avinu, he had 2 children. One of them came out good. The other one, no. Yitzhak Avinu, 2 children. One of them came out good. The other one, no. Yaakov Avinu was worried. Maybe one of his 12 children, maybe one of them didn't come out good. And even though he may look good, how could you tell the difference between one person and another? There's all beautiful, great tzaddikim sitting here in this room. Could I tell? Could anybody tell? You don't know what's in another person's mind. What's the person doing behind closed doors? What's the person doing in the secrets of his life? We don't know. So maybe one of them is not worthy. So at that point, Yaakov Avinu says, maybe it's because of that. They answered, they said, but look at the words Yaakov Avinu says, Dela Yeheh benechon gevar libe palig alahoy. I want to know that there's nobody who is palig alahoy, arguing with his brother, or differing than his brother, lemezal lemiflah, to go and worship avodah zarah. So you want to tell me a person is not religious? How do you say it? Okay, maybe the guy went off. The guy is not. He went to church instead of. He made a left turn. What happened to him? More than that, Yaakov Avinu points to us an unbelievable point. He says, if the person is fighting or not getting along with his brother, and then he went off, and really he's pointing to us an unbelievable concept. A lot of times, and you look throughout history, you go through Navi, you go through the Torah, and you see that some of those people who became off to Avodah Zarah, some of those people who got into some type of altercation, fight, and that led to them leaving the fold. They say, that's it, I'm not coming to shul anymore because X, Y, Z, because of whatever fight. What does your religion have to do with his fight? I don't know. But that's how people many times
blame the shul.
That's one of the reasons why you shouldn't talk in knis. You know why? Because if you're going to talk, right, then you're going to blame everything that happens or goes wrong or your business. You're going to say, oh, because I talked in shul, right? So don't talk in shul. Do your business somewhere else.
Sorry to interject, we encourage people in our synagogue not to do business with people of the synagogue. For this reason. For this particular reason. That we don't want. I don't want to have to make shalom in a war, because when it comes to money, people change. Keep your friends for social reasons, for good reasons, for ahdut reasons, and not through money connection. You can give that advice to all the students there as well, to advise the wonderful Aventura.
So watch this. Yaakov Avinu was not able to tell them when Mashiach is going to come. But you know what? Secret he was able to give over to them? How Mashiach can come. How can Mashiach come? With the unification of all of his children coming around. Hikabtzu v'shim'u b'nei Yaakov. Gather around us and gather in unity. And he's going to teach us what true unity means. Some people think that unity means every single person doing the same thing. Yaakov Avinu taught us otherwise. Unity does not mean every single person is doing the same exact thing. Go look at the blessings. Yehuda, a king. Yisachar, studying. Zebulun, a merchant. Dan, judging. Gad, in the army. And each one, so on and so forth, had their unique quality. A person who wants to give a blessing, somebody comes over, they want children. So they want a blessing for that specific intention. A person is in real estate. He wants a blessing within his realm. A person is in wholesale. He wants a blessing within his realm. A person is looking for health. He wants a blessing within that topic. Each and every child is different. And Yaakov Avinu knew that. And that was the secret to their greatness. That he was able to find out, what are you good at? And we're going to develop it and bless it. You know, beracha, bet, resh, chaf,
Hey.
right? And then you have the head.
Hold on. We need to use the whiteboard because.
The whiteboard.
Yeah.
Okay,
We need to
we
use the
are.
whiteboard.
Do we have a smartboard?
No, I'm still waiting. I already mentioned it 4 times last week. I'm still waiting. But maybe I didn't pray enough.
Show it here.
Okay, we see it on the video. So you have the bed.
Give it.
It's 2, double. Resh, 200. Chaf, 20. Each one is double in its number. So when you want to multiply something, you want to maximize it. That's what beracha is. So what are you good at? And you'll maximize. You'll be very happy. I'll give you an example. There's a person got a nice job, is earning, I don't know what goes over here in Florida, $200,000 a year? Okay. Starting job, starting salary. How's he? Okay.
Relax.
So the person starts off with the starting salary, right, $200,000. Rabbi, I'm not making ends meet, right? The tuitions, right? My cars, right? To keep up with this. Not keeping up. Rabbi, give me beracha. Now for him to start earning $5 million from 200, I don't know how that's going to happen. From his spectrum, from his job description, it's not really going to happen. But if he could go from 200 to 250, that's maximizing his potential and there's room to grow within his... What's the word? So then he is blessed. A person who is in real estate and he's turning over $5 million a year, and now he wants blessing to increase. There was a guy who was, I remember him in the city, I visited him a couple of years ago. He was doing only $25 million a year. He decided that's it, he has to take his company and bring it out to $50 million, from 25 to 50. Okay, Chazak Baruch. Each person, for what they are, and they maximize, that is blessing. So a person is I'll give you an example maybe now. My mother, right, should pray for Refuah Shelema, Linda Bat Estrella. So she had pneumonia, and very hard pneumonia the other day. She was on antibiotics. In the end, they needed to put in a trach, right? Lungs collapse, a trach. For us, a blessing would be if she could get off the trach and be able to go back to regular breathing. And now, even that, right? So we're looking at what proportionally would be a blessing, and that small improvement, or big improvement, or medium improvement to what we could imagine, that's blessing. So Yaakov Avinu, again, he saw within Yehuda, he was able to take the lead. You should be blessed. He saw Dan, he was good at arbitration, maybe good as a Dayan. So he said, take the lead. And he saw God, he was good at what he was doing, and take the lead. And this is the secret to the unity. When each one is playing, you have an army, and you have the infantry division, and you have the Air Force division. Who over here is from Tzahal? No, very retired. They're all working still in Israel. If you have somebody in the army, and he's going to go in the Air Force, and they want to go do certain maneuvers, and the infantry down below is doing different, and now you're going to say, hey, get out of my way and move it. You need a coordinator of the entire army to be able to know where each person fits, and that's that great Yaakov Avinu we were able to look to say, this is where you will excel. So each person, if they could zero in on where they excel, they will also start appreciating where other people excel. And that will bring unity. Part of the disunity is that because everybody thinks they can do it all. What's the beracha that we say after drinking water? Borei nefashot rabot v'chesronan. Each person, you know how to make suits? I don't know. This guy knows how to make nuts. This guy knows how to do cars. This person knows how to do technology. This person over here behind the video, if we turn it around, he knows how to run I don't know what it is, it looks like a big operation. But each person, to what they are capable of contributing and doing, that really essentially brings unity. So as a father, as a parent, as an educator, or involved in any any facet. When you see that somebody is good at something and you help them develop that, and you see a child, he knows how to play music, and now develop it. He knows how to study, he knows how to remember, and you develop it. That will ultimately maximize, and that will help bring the unity. You understanding yourself, and you appreciating every single other person in the world. B'ezrat Hashem, we should take the lesson of Yaakov Avinu, how he blessed his children. We should merit to bless our children and to be able to maximize the greatness, to be able to appreciate ourselves, themselves, and every single person around us, to see the coming of the Mashiach with great unity. Amen.
Before we switch for the visual audience, this is the Rabbi's information. Okay, let me make sure that my fingers don't cover. Okay, you have it. Ora halakha, beautiful. Got a close up. Nice, good, beautiful. Rabbi, Ilechu mechail el hail. Hashem should bless you. Continue being successful and bringing a wonderful Talmidei Hachamim. One of the things, the beautiful things that the Rabbi mentioned in the world of the rabbinate, before we go to the next guest speaker, is also the same thing. There are certain Hachamim, certain rabbis that have a specialties, right, in a lot of things. A rabbi that is a mohel or a good hazan, like he is a good mohel and a good hazan, doesn't mean that he's a shohet. Are you a shohet? Not yet. You don't have time for shahita. We don't want to mix shahita with milah. You don't want to cut too much neither. God forbid, you cut too much is a problem. But on a more serious note, that can be reinforced with a beautiful pasuk of Shlomo HaMelech that says, Hanoch la'na'ar al pi darko. A father cannot educate the children, all of them the same way, right? Sometimes a child needs to have more encouragement than others, and you can never criticize them because you may have an issue with self-esteem. So that's exactly what the multicoloring of Am Yisrael, that's why the flags of Am Yisrael are also different, right? Different colors, different symbols, etc. So, B'ezrat Hashem, we hope that the merit of Yaakov Avinu becomes alive and well, and we have the merit of Mashiach's arrival. Amen.
Amen.
At this moment, we'd like to welcome Rabbi David Grossman, which the Kahal have met in the past. Rabbi, you are video live now. I hope you don't mind. Audio, recording, wave. We got people watching from Germany and probably from New York and Guatemala, Berlin, and I don't know what else. These are those who identify themselves. There are many more who don't. But Baruch Hashem, we do have a large audience that follows daily. As long as the technical department is available, they follow daily in order to carry the words of Torah worldwide. So Rabbi Dayan David Grossman is the director of the Bet HaVa'ad, the rabbinical court. There are two parts when it comes to the rabbinate: the leadership, the example, the management of a community, which involves different aspects, but then we have to deal with also financial headaches, financial challenges. And that's where the Bet HaVa'ad Halacha Center, which recently had launched a new program called the Sephardic Halacha Center, which I spoke about it in the past, that they are wonderful young rabbinical scholars, becoming Dayanim, being Dayanim, and they guide the Sephardic community nationwide, especially in matters of money. What does it mean? Loans, consignment, credit cards, last wills and testaments, prenuptial agreement when halachically is acceptable to use. We don't vouch for it automatically. We hope that people should be happily married, but we do know that in certain marital relationship and certain situations, a prenuptial is required for this relationship to become a reality. But also for that, we need to have halachic parameters, halachic guidelines, investments in companies, that all the investors and the lenders and the borrower are Jewish. Also, we need to have a Tera Iska. I believe the rabbi is giving a lecture today in a bank, correct? The rabbi is giving a lecture today in a bank, guiding and explaining to the bank the intricacies of Heter Iska. if the Shulchan Aruch as a whole, the Code of Jewish Law, has a lot of complicated topics, the topic of Hoshen Mishpat perhaps is one of the most challenging and more difficult to handle. That's the reason why many rabbis, including myself, whenever a situation comes that has to do with money, I forward the rabbi's information to try to help the members of our shul to work things out in a kosher way. Even before the rabbi landed, already someone came with a halachic question that right away the answer was, of course, this is not a kosher type of business. I'll explain to the kahal briefly, then I give you over the mic. It's a group of investors that a group of 5-6 partners, and 2 of them are lending money to the partnership. But the partnership are all Jewish, and is charging a monthly interest rate. So that's forbidden from a halakha perspective. Why? That's called rebit, because all the partners and all the players are Yehudim. But the halakha and the great rabbinate saw this problem, so they established a halachic binding document known as Heter Iska, that the way you structure the transaction, there could be a halachic permissibility, a way that the lender is able to see a return on their money. I'm sure the rabbi and both rabbis, based on their own rabbinical experience, can write books about their stories and questions that we receive as rabbis non-stop. At this time, I would like to give the opportunity to the young David Grossman to share with Kahal Kadosh a few questions. We are going to allow in the next few minutes questions when it comes to finances, because sometimes not everybody has the opportunity that we have to have the rabbi with us, so I want the kahal to maximize the rabbi's visit. After, the rabbi will be giving out his information, as we did with Rabbi Arkin, and will also open the floor for financial questions only. Mechavot, the young David Grossman.
Boker Tov, thank you very much, Rabbi Galimidi. Boker Tov, thank you for your involvement in everything that we do, and Baruch Hashem, there's a tremendous amount of interest and many questions that come up on a daily basis or many times a week that I'm in touch with the rabbi with many questions from the kahal amongst rabbanim and many other communities. If I'll just for a few minutes just address the questions that the rabbi posed, and then we can open up the floor for other questions. And I'll just mention briefly a question that was asked a few minutes ago by one of the members of the kahal. The question of partnerships there's, like the rabbi mentioned, is a prohibition to lend money with rebit. That's something that everybody knows. It's mentioned 6 times in the Torah, and something very severe. One of the more severe avonot that are mentioned. The rabbis tell us that when something's mentioned many times in the Torah, it's coming to enforce and reinforce and show the severity. I may have mentioned last time, we all look for segulot, for parnasah. Not often do we have an explicit Gemara that tells us that if a person is makpid, a person refrains from lending with interest, that is a tremendous sigula for parnasah. It's based on the pasuk in Tehillim, that the pasuk says, "Et kaspo lo natan b'neshech." If his money he did not lend with neshech. Neshech refers to rebit, because it's like a snake that bites, it keeps biting and growing, and a person who borrows with interest and then has to pay back and borrow from somebody else at a higher interest rate, and then pay back, and it ends up going to a loan shark who could bite him and threaten him with terrible. The person still keeps falling and falling. So that's why it's called neshech. We bite out of, it's a bite, and it says that kaspo lo natan b'neshech. If a person does not lend with neshech, ose eleh Lo yimot lo olam. Somebody who does these things, he doesn't give shochad or lend with ribit, he will never, his assets will never dwindle. And the Gemara says that we can deduce from there just the opposite. A person who does lend with ribit, nechasav mitmotetim. He has big, huge buildings, and he doesn't take care of his ribit properly. His buildings can be mitmotet, they can fall. Or it could be built on a 100-story building, but if it's not properly taken care of, right, the hatzlacha of a person could, so many times, most of the time, 99% of the time, if it's done properly with enough foresight, there's no problem at all, and you can write the Heter Iska, which is a document that rearranges the structure of the financial arrangement, which makes it 100% mutar, and it's no problem. So with foresight, and it's something that can be taken care of very easily. That's the simple. If Reuven lends money to Shimon, and he lends $100 or $100,000, and the agreement is he's going to pay 4% or 6%, that's called ribit kitzutza, ribit deoraita, and that's a very simple form of ribit. What we were dealing with two other very interesting questions, which is when two partners borrow money from even a non-Jewish financial institution, which the laws of Rabbi do not really apply usually to non-Jewish institution. The pasuk says that when one of the reasons why a person should not lend with Rabbi is the pasuk says v'chai achicha imach. You have to live together with your brother. Don't charge him interest. There's a mitzvah to lend at kesef talve et ami. It's a mitzvah to lend to somebody. When you lend with interest, you're not mekayem that mitzvah. So there's a mitzvah to help your brother out and lend him without interest. However, we deduce from there that only v'chai achicha imach. The halachot of ribit only apply to your brother, to a fellow Jew. But a person is allowed to go to a non-Jewish bank, financial institution, and take out a mortgage, and that is no problem. The few times that there is a problem is, let's say we have two partners borrowing, and they're both equally obligated to the entire sum. Interesting halacha, it's rendered as if one person is borrowing half, and one partner is guaranteeing his partner's other half, and the other partner is borrowing the other half and guaranteeing his half. So the halacha is something that many people don't know with regard. Not only is it asur, prohibited to borrow with interest, it's also prohibited to guarantee somebody else's loan from a non-Jewish institution. So when two partners borrow, even if they're just borrowing from a bank, if they're both on the hook, they're both liable, there is a problem of arvut, and the person, one is a guarantor for the other, and a heter iska is needed. Another interesting application, which was a few minutes ago, was the question was posed that a person borrowed money from his friend, let him use his credit card, and he purchased something, and he said he's going to pay him back within a few months, which is okay, and now he can't pay him back just yet. So he wanted to know, he feels bad, this person's paying interest on his credit card. Let's say that they bought a computer system for $5,000, and every month this generous fellow is paying the credit card the interest on behalf of the person he did the favor for. So he feels bad, he wants to pay him, he wants to take up the tab and pay the interest for him. It's only right. Why should he pay the interest on my money? I have no problem. A couple of dollars, whatever it is, $100 a month, whatever it is, he'll pay the interest. What's the issue? So we mentioned that to borrow money from a non-Jew is not a problem. So to borrow money from a credit card, and obviously you're allowed to pay interest on a credit card. But when Reuven borrows from his credit card, and he lends that money to Shimon, and Shimon then wants to pay Reuven's interest, even though it's really his obligation, but since legally the person who's responsible for this debt is Reuven, it's his credit card, and if he doesn't pay, they're going to come after him They don't know about Shimon at all. So when Shimon pays Reuven's fees, he's actually paying Reuven, and Reuven is interest, and Reuven is paying his credit card. And he asked, yeah, but how about if I send a check directly to the credit card with the interest? So I'm not paying Reuven anything. I'm going straight to his credit card. The answer is in halakha that doesn't make a difference, because since he's paying Reuven's obligation, even though he's paying it directly, it's as if he's paying Reuven the interest, and Reuven is transferring that interest to the credit card. So again, with a heter iska, it's not a problem. It needs to be drafted, and once it's drafted, it's not a problem. We can open the floor for a few questions. Yes.
I heard before that, even though it's diligent to go over, let's say, partnership for, having Jewish partners, to go over the books and records and review, etc. I've heard from some sources that it's asur for a Yehudi to makpid al another Yehudi, and in actuality, it could be even like severe consequences for doing. What's your opinion?
When you say to be makpid, in other words,
I'm talking about like using, let's say, forensic, going beyond the scope of normal examination of records.
in other words, you're talking about two partners, and one wants to make sure the other partner hasn't put his hand somewhere where he shouldn't have. And,
Correct.
I haven't come across such a problem. There's no halachic problem to ask for forensic accounting. There is discussion halacha how far he has to prove. In other words, sometimes.
Is he trying to charge him in court, or is just?
You're not talking about taking him to court or anything, right?
Usually taking someone to court starts with request of books.
So that's a partnership that is about to be broken.
Sour.
Is a partnership that is sour.
Right.
Not just to do the books to see how much taxes or how much profit they have.
For
So
double
this
check.
is a headache relationship that is unhappy
On the way
ending,
down.
and now there is a lawsuit apparently involved. Okay?
Yeah, so lawsuit
and
is a
now
problem.
that's
In
a
other words,
different issue.
This forensic accounting depends where it's being presented.
Right.
If the two partners are went to a bedin to settle this dispute, and the bedin asked for the records, then that's 100% okay. And there's no problem of being makpid on the other person. If it's a couple of dollars, it could be something that one should overlook. But if he's worried that there's serious fraud or serious misappropriation of funds, so then that's 100% okay. But as Rabbi Arkin says, if you bring him to court, that's even if you don't ask him being makpid, you're not allowed to bring somebody to court. Let me just expound on that for a minute. The pasuk says, "Ve'ele hamishpatim asher tasim lifnehem," and the Chachamim explain that these are the matters that should be presented lifnehem, in front of them meaning the Jewish bedin, and v'lo lifnei arkaot shel goyim, and that's another very severe prohibition, which is the Rambam and Maran Bet Yosef quotes the Rambam to say that if a person brings his fellow Jew to court without going to bedin, harei ze ki'ilu chiref v'gidef umerim yad al Torat Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom, which means that he's committing blasphemy, and it's as if he took his hand and to strike the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu. It's if you look through Shulchan Aruch, you won't find a strong terminology like this, anywhere. This is it's the basics of Judaism is that everything has to be adjudicated in bedin, and what's suggested when a person drafts an agreement, just to make sure that this is not a problem. In the olden days, the Sanhedrin had power, and the Sanhedrin were able to summon somebody to come before them, the bedin of old, and they were in touch with the Mishtara, and they were able to get things done. Today, the civil court system is what rules and determines relationships. And if a person doesn't sign an agreement ahead of time that to empower within let's say a partnership agreement or any type of agreement, you put in what's called a dispute resolution clause, which gives jurisdiction to a specific bedin, then a person would, if there is a problem, he could go through a lot of headache, unnecessary headache, trying to get the person to come to Bedin. Bedin can't force a person to come in front of them if the defendant decides he doesn't want to go to Bedin. So the Bedin will issue a seruv or some type of cherem, depending on the case, or they'll give then a heter to go to arkaot. They'll give a permission to go to civil court if the defendant is not showing up. So there is recourse in the eventuality that the defendant doesn't show to Bedin, then you are allowed to, with Bezdin's permission, you're allowed to bring him to civil court. But otherwise, it's a very serious problem, a very serious avon. Yes.
Why is it a singular to Parnasa to be makpid on not charging Rebbe when it's a deoraita already not to charge it?
So, I think your question is how can it be? Why do you need a segula if it's prohibited anyway?
Why do you get extra credit for doing something you have to?
Well, yeah, I mean, the way the pasuk reads is if you do it, you will suffer this consequence. In other words, if you don't do it, it could be that lonus motet means that you're getting your assets will remain intact. So, and they won't fall, which really the issue is that if you do lend it to be, then that will be your punishment, so to speak. So we do find all over the Torah that there's even if it's Doraita, it tells you you get this punishment. Right, I mean you get
It's like ma'aser that says aser te'aser. Giving ma'aser guaranteed success, financial success.
If you give tzedakah, it's a segula again to ensure that you will become wealthy from that. Yes.
Yes.
How about if you called somebody 3 times to a Bedin, he didn't show up, the Bedin notified the Bet Knesset or the congregation where he's going, and nothing is happening basically.
So the question is, if somebody was summoned to the Bedin 3 times,
Right.
and the person never showed up to the Bedin, and the Bedin informed the synagogue where this person prays, listen, this fellow did not come out to the Bedin to the invitation. Okay? So your question is, what happens with this person?
Not what happens, and the rabbi just overlooks at the whole...
Ignores it. The rabbi who received the Mechtav Seruv ignores it.
So don't say ignores it, just nothing happens.
Doesn't act upon it.
Exactly.
So I think that perhaps we answer this question. Maybe you should walk us through a standard 3-letter and Mechtav Seruv, and what does a Mechtav Seruv does to the person.
Right. So there's the way the process to call somebody to Bedin is that you speak to the Bedin. The Bedin sends out a hazmana, an invitation or a summons to come to court to Bedin, and they give usually about a week or so for the person to respond, and then a second, and then a third, and then afterwards, if they try to contact him, if he doesn't come, they will give a hasra'at siruv, which is a warning. Next time you'll be getting a siruv. A lot of times, unfortunately, the Batei Din and Rabbanim as well, they have to really judge if the person is going to be taking this matter seriously. If the person, the clear recourse would be to get a heter akaot. That's something that every Bedin will give on every occasion, which means that since he's not coming to Bedin, they give you the permission to pursue this in court. That has much more power and potency, because unfortunately in the Kahal there's various people who respect the various systems in Torah in various levels. So a court order is something that talks to everybody.
Yeah, but when you don't want to go to this venue, you just want to stay within the family. You don't want to go outside.
Yeah, so it's really...
Where is the rabbi acting in this?
In other words, is the rabbi has an obligation to act on the Mechtav Seruv?
Generally, yes. Generally, it does, but it's a case by case basis. It's something that can't be answered, because many times there's another side to the story. Why, you know, especially, let's say, you know, in divorce, a lot of times, right, everybody's looking at the husband, why he's not giving the divorce document. And really the problem was he offered it 3 months ago, but the woman didn't agree to the terms and was demanding much more than she's able to get. So every case, you really have to get into the, you know, you can't judge, but technically a rabbi should get involved, and you know, the rabbi has his own, you know, he has to figure out in his own kahal how it works.
You know, in Israel, the Beit Din favors the man for his divorce, and the husband was always manipulating the Beit Din, and the woman, she got nothing, and we had to go to court for somebody
Right.
try to collect, but he always manipulates the Beit Din.
It's the opposite today.
Yeah, today
No,
is the
not in
opposite.
Israel.
Today, the husband who doesn't give the get to the wife in Israel,
She
put
got
him in jail.
But
Yeah,
they never
but-
put the lady.
But the money,
No, they
He
never.
has equal.
Yeah, but the money-
It's a lot of good things that are happening in the land of Israel to make divorces more amicable, and more practical, and minimizing the topic of agunot, also of having ladies that are hanging. You know, we need to understand that questions. We need all the details to be able to the rabbi to give. So I don't want to put you on the spot, perhaps a personal experience that you may have witnessed. So if you want to talk to the rabbi privately, I would encourage you to do that if there is anything to do about saving the marriage.
they were looking for saving the marriage.
Right, and it didn't work. They got divorced already?
Yeah, finally.
I understand. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm
But
sorry
still-
to hear that.
But he's not giving her money.
Okay, that's it. So she can take him to a din Torah.
Yeah, definitely.
She can definitely take him to the Bedin, and if he doesn't come to the Bedin, as the rabbi explained, he can be taken to the Arkaot. There is a system in place. Is the system foolproof? I hope to say yes, but sometimes there are a couple of leaks here and there. But definitely the theoretical system is in place to have the husband responding accordingly.
But I will add that maybe I can throw out to the kahal, if the kahal can maybe guess what, in my opinion, my experience, what the three most contentious types of dinei Torah that exist. The three matters that are the most contentious, that the two parties are at each other's throats, literally. Can anybody guess the three most contentious types of dinei Torah that we experience? Contentious in English is
Yani the worst. Mamash, war.
clash.
Head
war,
to head,
head to head,
clashes.
screaming, yelling. Obviously, divorce is number one.
Partnership.
Partnership is
Sour.
number two.
Inheritance.
Very good.
What's the third thing?
Inheritance.
Inheritance. And the way I see it is that the reason why these three end up like this is because whenever there's a tremendous amount of trust that's invested for a long amount of time, and there's love and there's trust and there's relationship, when that's mitpotzetz, when that blows up, it blows up in the worst way. So when you have partners for 30, 40 years, you have brothers and sisters who are living harmoniously until the father dies, and all of a sudden, the Gemara says, "B'deleka kula alma lo pligi." When there's nothing to argue about, no one's arguing. Ki pligi b'deika. People argue when there's something on the table. So people get along very, very nicely, all the brothers and sisters for years, and then all of a sudden there's $1 million on the table, and people's attitudes change. That's the importance of the importance of setting up a person's estate, the wills. That's also what we're going to be talking about today in the Bank Leumi on Biscayne Boulevard this evening, is setting up a person's estate, wills and estate planning to make sure that it doesn't come to. I mean, we had in the Beit Din about a year ago a family that was fighting over $18,000 inheritance. The whole family, they don't come to each other's smachot, they don't come, the family is over. And of course, it wasn't the money. It wasn't the money. It was the principle. It was, I say it was the principle of the money, not the interest. But it's, it's unfortunate. But that's what we see.
But there is no halachic problem to do a last will and testament while the person is alive and well.
No, it's actually
no fear,
encouraged.
no superstition, nothing.
Yeah, they say I think it's also sagula farichat yamim.
Yes.
Buying a kever.
One second. We have 3 questions on the right side. Give me a second. We'll get to you in a minute. Time allowing. We have exactly 4 minutes. So make the question short and sweet.
1 minute.
No. 1 minute each. Chabot.
So in a situation where the guy
It's over a minute.
wants the permission from you to go to a civil court. For some reason, he gives it to the Beit Din, and that individual maybe is in the synagogue, and there's no response. What if the person writes a letter to the Beit Din? Please give me that letter. No response. He takes that letter then, maybe he goes to a different Beit Din. Is that a possibility? Because he's not progressing, so it's like another court, a higher court or a different court.
I mean, what's usually done is the Beit Din would give permission to go to civil court because he didn't show up to Beit Din
But
with
what if
the
they don't
proper
respond?
process.
He's asking.
Who doesn't
So his question is that the
He's
Beit
asking.
Din, in other words, after you went to the proper procedure, you send a letter to the Beit Din, give me the permission to go to the civil court, and the Beit Din never got the letter.
Right.
Uh-huh.
He never got the letter, or whatever the case may be.
He don't
So he
respond
wants
the
to
letter.
show then, or ask again in writing.
Right.
This is the second
Yeah,
time
you
I'm
could go to another
asking,
Beit Din, but
respond,
they should
and
try
then
to-
no response. No
Try to get it
response.
from that Beit Din. If it doesn't work, then for whatever reason, then you could go to
That would be
another Beit Din.
powerful enough to go to another
Beit Din, possibly.
Beit Din.
Yeah,
Is
that would be up to the
is
second
that,
Beit Din
is that,
to weigh in on. Yeah, a very good question. Yes.
If you're being sued by a Jew, and the only way to respond to being sued is to counter-sue. So how does that, now you're suing a Jew. So if you're saying in the beginning, haram to sue a Jew, you're in essence doing what you're saying you shouldn't do.
That's an excellent point. The what's done usually is that should be accompanied by a hazmana to the plaintiff to withdraw the case from the court. If you receive a court order that he's bringing you to court, he's suing you. So right away you go to a Beit Din and you ask the Beit Din to sue your plaintiff, your co-litigant, and to demand that he removes it from court and brings it to the Beit Din. It turns around, you become the plaintiff, you're trying to get him out of court, and then if it doesn't work, then you can go and counter-sue, or it's possible you can counter-sue right away with the stipulation that you're going to go to court when he shows up if there's something that could be lost by the process delaying.
Yeah, but the only thing is that by counter-suing the party who's suing you by jury, requested by jury, is to abolish all
To withdraw.
the false claims. So in essence, I want to counter-sue by jury.
Yeah, so it could be you have to, each case is specific, but it could be you're allowed to counter-sue if you simultaneously send them a hazmana from Beit Din that you want this matter brought to Beit Din. So this way the process starts and you don't have to wait, but you have to ask a rabbi in each case because sometimes it's permitted depending what's at stake. What would be the loss if you waited until the end of the hazmanah process?
There's a time frame.
Yes.
Excellent. We have one more, and then those who would like to see the rabbi after the Kaddish, they're welcome to do so.
It's a financial question, but also with Shabbat, the permissibility of having a website on Shabbat.
Okay.
So it is permitted.
Maybe an after question if it's
Yeah.
boring.
It is a complex issue, but it is permitted that the website should be open on Shabbat as long as there's no guaranteed delivery or execution on the Shabbat. In other words, for a person to go and shop and place an order, that's not a problem. But nothing can happen from your company on the back end until after the Shabbat. Like if you say 24-hour delivery, guaranteed Saturday delivery.
For example, you have it in
If
a warehouse and Amazon
it's
warehouse.
a fulfillment center, that could also be a problem. If there's a guarantee that it should be, if the site is saying that it's going to be there within Shabbat, or
No,
it's going to start getting
it says 2
processed.
days, so we're good for Shabbat, but if there's a
What
Yom
happened to
Tov
Prime?
and Shabbat.
Yeah, Yom Tov could be a problem.
Prime is 2 days. If there's a Yom Tov.
It's good. They have to be.
Also, you
But
should not
fulfillment
run
center,
and
we
check
don't
the
know if
website on Mosai Shabbat. How many sales happen through Shabbat? Did you hear?
No, I'm sorry.
That you should not run to the website on Mosai Shabbat as soon as you say Baruch HaMagdir Ben Kodesh Lechol. Wow, 34 sales came on Shabbat. You should wait, right? You should wait.
Well, we can mail a letter on Friday, right?
Yeah, as long as it's not guaranteed Saturday delivery. If it's guaranteed Saturday, it's a problem. Happens to be just, I don't know if you know, one of the most successful, one of the very successful electronic stores in the city is B&H Photo. And their website is closed on Shabbat. It's from sundown, which is the busiest day of, people are by the computer. And, Baruch Hashem, they saw tremendous success. But al pi halacha, and halacha, it's not necessary.
Why?
They'll have to stay
So
open.
the
Why
only
is it permissible? How can
Because
it be
it's as if,
permissible?
just imagine having a soda machine in a mall. People are going to come and buy soda. So there's a question, because the transaction is actually going to be on Shabbat. The person is going to purchase the soda and pay. Here, the transaction is not on Shabbat. It's just payment. There's no delivery. It's
dropping
put
an order
motion.
in the machine.
You don't even know
The
when
dropping
it's
the
going
order
to be processed.
in.
They process it by the
it
time
after.
it goes through Harris.
Okay, Rabotai, we have one more in the back. If it's not complicated,
It's not, well, it's important.
okay. I'll judge the question if we answer it now or not. Come on.
So, if somebody has having a financial dispute with somebody else, one person is wrongfully holding back money from that person, and according to court, New York state law, if there's a court case and that person is found to be having to give that money over, because they penalize 9% or 11% interest as part of the settlement, and the guy had to incur legal expenses in order to get his money. That interest would somehow, first of all, it's penalizing the person that withheld the money wrongfully, and number two, it'll help the guy repay his lawyers that he had to pay to get the money. So what do you do in that case?
So
Let me paraphrase the question so the listening audience can understand the question. The question is as follows. Two individuals have a financial dispute. One was holding money from the other partner. He went to a court, and the court sided with the plaintiff, correct? Now the court awarded also interest for the amount of time or years that the defendant was holding the money. Can the plaintiff utilize that money to pay legal expenses, because he incurred legal expenses of having to hire an attorney to do the whole Megillah with the court system? Is that your question? Chazak u'baruch. Okay. No, I just paraphrase it so everybody is able to understand. Excellent question. Rabbis, give us an excellent answer, please.
So the
So the question is basically on the interest, not on the capital, because the capital was his entitlement. The question is on the interest.
So the answer is that even if a person goes to civil court because they couldn't get their claim, the guy wouldn't come to Bedin. If it's clearly interest related, in other words, if let's say Reuven borrowed $100,000 and the court awarded the $100,000 plus interest, and there's no other question about legal fees, so then it would be a problem to take that interest, even though the person didn't come to Bedin, but you're still not allowed to take money that doesn't belong to you if it's clear. In your case, it seems like you're taking it for legal fees, so then it would depend on if the Bedin would have awarded you those legal fees, which which many.
Everyone is on their own.
No, so the way it works in Bet Din is if the person, if there's expenses that are due to the fact that the person wouldn't come to Bet Din, so then he would be obligated at some level. It could be a grami, but even if it's a grama, which is causative damage, you're allowed to take the money, you're allowed to be tofes. It's really obligated. It's, it is a complex question, but there's definitely what to talk about as far as taking one interest to compensate for other fees. As long as those fees are sanctioned in halacha, then it could be permitted. But if it's fees that are not sanctioned, then there would be a problem.
So just for the record, the rabbi did not give a green light automatically to use that money, but the rabbi explained that due to the fact that the defendant is the one who truly caused the plaintiff to incur financial expenses in order to recuperate his truly entitled money, may be an area of halakha that he may be able to cover the expenses if this will be the ruling of the Bedin when this question would have been posed to the Bedin. So there is no conclusive answer to this question. The question needs to be handled knowing a bit more details that due to the confidentiality we're not going to share them at a public setting. Is the interest on the capital of the money. The money in question was 100,000. Now because it took 3 years, now the court is saying pay 147,000. This 47,000 is the question.
So the one-time class.
So okay, that's why the Bedin needs to analyze it.
If it's interest, it's a problem. If it's
right. If it's interest, it's one thing. If it's a penalty, it's a different topic altogether. Rabbi Grossman, Chazaku Baruch, Rabbi Arkin, Chazaku Baruch. I believe that the Kahal found it as interested as I did, and just to open up our mind to truly understand the beauty and the expansion of the Torah. So we wish both great rabbis to have a lot of aslaha in all their endeavors. Amen. Anybody would like to speak to the rabbis privately, give the rabbis a blessing, give the rabbis a hand, feel free to do so. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen.